Kia ora, everyone. My name is Vixen Temple.
And I am Madeline.
And haere mai and welcome to Stripped and Unscripted. So excited. This is not our first official episode. We thought it would be a good idea just to do an introduction, get to know your host, what the kaupapa behind the show is, and why we created it. So I'm going to pass over to Madeline to introduce herself, and then I'll do the same, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, kia ora, everyone. Ko ngā te kuia te iwi. I was born in Pōneke, but I have lived most of my life in Tamaki Makaurau. Ko Madeline, or Maddie toku ingoa. I am a dancer. I am tangata whenua, and I am also a kaiwhakaho, as well as a full-time and dabbler in S-work. Yeah.
Kia ora. Ko Vixen Temple toku ingoa. My name is Vixen Temple. My pronouns are she, her. I whakapapa Māori, Islands, Scotland and Wales. I am Ngāti Raukawa and McLeod clan. Don't know much about my Irish and Welsh side. I'm more connected to my Scottish and Māori whakapapa. I grew up in Ōtepoti, Dunedin, but I have lived in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, and I currently reside in Te Whanganui Atara o Pōneke, Wellington. I have been a S worker in many fields for the past 7 years, and I also wear many other hats that I will get into, but I will pass back to Madeline and we can expand on the things that we do outside of just the general get to know us knowledge stuff. So take it away, Madeline.
Yes. Okay. So, I thought that it would be cool for us to talk a little bit more about all the hats that we wear. So I will start. I am, like I said, a dancer. I've been very, very lucky to create a performance career off the back of my S-work career. I think a lot of people can agree that once you've been a stripper, you you just end up with this ridiculous amount of performance experience. And for me, luckily enough, that has kind of resulted in a career of performance. I have been performing all over Aotearoa. I've performed on stages for Snoop Dogg. I am a regular at pop-up strip events across the country. I perform just pretty much wherever and whenever I can. I specialize in, obviously, stripper-style pole. I love to spin. I love to bend in half. And I love to hump the floor, essentially. That's my performance sort of persona. I perform under the name Lexi Liquid, which is obviously my stripper name as well. And yeah, that's my performance stuff. What about you, Vixen?
Kia ora. Yeah, she really does move like liquid when she dances, so that name is very accurate. Performance-wise, so I have a Bachelor of Arts in Film, Media and Theatre Studies, so I knew from a young age I wanted to be a performer, also knew I wanted to be a stripper, but I'm a drag queen. I do alternative drag. I'm trying to dabble a bit more in alternative burlesque. I'm also a poet. I do a lot of live poetry readings. For the past 7 years under Vixen Temple, I've headlined shows across the country, especially with Nocturne Sanctum events. The Devil's Ballroom is one of the highlights of my year. I travel all across the country just performing in shows. I've headlined a few. As Vixen Temple, she's sort of like this alter ego I created to tap into my monstrous feminine energy, to really step into my rage. And I use art as a medium to explore my trauma and just using my body to tell stories that perhaps my voice can't. And I would say that my performance art is a big part of my activism because most of my acts, which I refer to as rituals, are explored around my experiences of being an S worker or just a wahine, or being mentally ill or disabled or just, I draw from personal life experiences and I use that in my art, and it can be quite provocative and confronting, but that's, what alternative art usually aims to do. So that's my performing side. I'll take it back to Madeline to talk about, we have many hats, so let's talk about whatever you want to talk about now.
Oh, there is many, many hats. So my second hat would be my dance instructing career. Again, I've been really, really lucky to build a career, pretty much a full-time career. I would say pole and movement instructing is about 60% of my income at the moment, so a large chunk. Basically, off the back of my sex work career, I stepped away full time from stripping and sort of wriggled my way into the pole industry. I am currently teaching at 4 studios, 3 in Tamaki Makaurau and 1 is online. Very, very blessed to have students all across the globe. I do, online privates, in real life privates, heaps of workshops across the country. I'm kind of in the middle of a loose tour. I'm kind of just taking myself to wherever is willing to learn from me across the country, just to kind of make connections with new polers and new people just across Aotearoa. And yeah, I'm very, very lucky. Teaching wise, I'm definitely specializing in, again, stripper style. I really love to teach it in its completely authentic self. I like to keep it slow. I like to keep it really horny. I like to keep it just, inherently stripper. I also teach a lot of advanced pole. I am, big fan of slow spin stuff. Like I said, folding myself in half. And so I really enjoy teaching other people how to do that. I also have a bit of a, I don't know if I call it a niche, but a special interest, might I say, for prehab and rehab. I am a hypermobile individual, and by that I don't mean that I am super flexible. I am, but my body is also a little bit too flexible. So I have picked up many an injury over the last 5 years of pole dancing, and I have definitely found quite a passion for teaching people how to not do that to themselves whilst learning how to do pole. Yeah, but that's my teaching career. What is your next hat, Vixen? Tell me more.
Okay, first, I just want to say Madeline is the GOAT. I've heard incredible things about her workshops. We will link our socials in the show notes. So if you are interested, please book her. She is that bitch. She's the GOAT. She's incredible. You will be very blessed to be learning from such a iconic, skilled, multi-versatile performer that is Madeline. So another hat that I wear is I'm an activist and a writer. So I'm self-employed and I write for a couple of online platforms. The biggest one I usually write for is Tristlink, which is an Australian-based S-work owned and operated escorting site, and I get to write blogs for them, articles for them. Some of my favorite, I get to write reviews, which are I review media that portrays S-workers, and I love that because I get to use my film and media degree as well as my experience being a S-worker. So I really enjoy writing about those articles. I also write a lot about the dark goddess and the monstrous feminine. I write for the D-List, a Aotearoa-based disability magazine. I've written for Adult Toy Mega Store blog. I just write a variety of topics that really interest me, and I really enjoy writing. It's something I wanted to do since I was a little girl, as well as performing. I've always known I wanted to be a writer. My goal is to one day publish some books, so that's something I would really like to do one day. So I'll link my published writing in the show notes if you want to check them out and read. I'm really proud of a lot of the articles I've written over the years. And I am also a S-work activist. So I am a board member of Aotearoa's Sex Workers Collective, formerly known as NZPC. And I've worked with Fired Up Stilettos in the past. I am not currently an active member, but I was really involved in the first 2 years of the forming of Fired Up Stilettos. I was their event coordinator for the first 2 years, so I got to organize a lot of the fundraising. I did a lot of, I've done 2 Halloween variety stripper shows at Fringe Bar here in Poneke. They were so much fun. I loved them so much. And I'm really proud to be the event producer behind Kaupapa Fuss, which are strip club takeovers run by the workers for the workers. And my intention with those events were, one, they're fundraisers for Fired Up Stilettos, but I also wanted to set such a high standard for how strip clubs are run and operated that the other clubs have to match it. So our dancers got to keep 100% off their earnings. They got to set their own rates. They get to pick their own, they get to pick their own music. They get to come and go as they please. They're not going to get fined or screamed or yelled at. I actually have an article I wrote that's linked to my Substack. I think I titled it, "I Managed a Strip Club and Didn't Have to Fine and Abuse the Workers." It was just really myself and Fired Up Stilettos chance to like showcase how actually easy it is to manage strippers without like exploiting them. It's so easy because the way that managers talk about it, it's as if like it's impossible to manage us without these fines and exploitation, but it's not. It's so easy, and I'm really proud of those events. I've now passed off the event coordinator hat to someone, two other workers that are more involved with Fired Up Stilettos now. So I'm not a current active member of Fired Up Stilettos, but I, with them, was invited to speak at Parliament, talking about justice for strippers and my experience of being victim blamed in the justice system. And then I was then invited back to talk about to the petition oral committee about the petition we put forward, just demanding just fair treatment of strippers and adult entertainers within Aotearoa. We're very behind as a country with that. Like, we've got sex work has been decriminalized, but we are so behind in regards to how the adult entertainment industry is run. So that's something that Fired Up Stilettos is really doing the mahi, trying to address and fix, because shit needs to change. And I'm really proud of all the activism I've done over the years. Prior to joining NZPC and Fired Up Stilettos, I used to have a blog. If people remember Vixen Temple blog, I used to write just little blog posts about my experience as a S worker, and over the years people started, requesting to do interviews with me. I've been interviewed on a variety of national and international media platforms. I've spoken to Vice. I've spoken to, just there's been, I'll post a link to like my interviews. I've just spoken to a lot of people about my area of expertise, I would say, is online censorship and foster sister and how that's impacted S workers. But I also just, talk about S work discourse. And over the years, people started referring to me as a sex work activist. And I was like, oh, okay. Is that what I'm doing? Okay, cool. I love that. So that's my mahi there. I'm really proud of it because for a long time growing up, I felt very voiceless in this world, as I'm sure many other wahine and queer disabled folk can relate to. And just as I've gotten older, I feel very honored and privileged to have gained a platform over the years, and to have such a loud voice that I really don't take that responsibility lightly. And me and Madeline, we want to make it very clear, like, as we go into what this podcast is, we don't claim to speak on behalf of the S work community. And I want to make that very clear. I really try to be very intentional and mindful of what I say when I talk to especially the media about S work stuff, because I'm not speaking on behalf of the community. I'm really speaking as myself as an S worker and things that have impacted me. And so, we're both ADHD, so we're going to ramble a lot, but I will pass back to Madeline, and I'm sure, is there any other hats that we wear that we need to talk about?
Oh, there is one more hat. I'm also wearing the advocacy hat, which I will talk about, but we do have a last hat after that, which I will remind you of. But, so similar hats, slightly different audience or scope, I guess. I also wear the activist hat. I inhabit the pole fitness space a lot more than Vixen, so we sort of differ in that respect, but we kind of share a lot of the same, I guess, like ideologies and opinions and even experiences. But I predominantly advocate for S workers in the context of a pole fitness studio or space or, environment in that sense. I actually began touring a workshop that I call Flow and Ethics. Oh man, it must be 4 years old now. First place I ever did it was in Otatahi, which is Christchurch, in New Zealand. It was one of the first workshops I ever ran. The whole idea of the workshop is it's about 2 hours long. The first half is an hour of stripper style dance. So that is just super authentic, slow, sexy dance. And then we follow it with a little talk. So we sort of sit down and I kind of go through a bunch of different topics that fall under this whole sort of umbrella about how we as pole dancers and studios and whatever it may be can better respect sex workers and be ethical in the way that we pole dance and sort of learn how to engage and indulge in a way that doesn't actually cause more harm than is already being done to S workers. So there's a bit of history involved. There's heaps of ethics. I talk about a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about in this podcast over the next little while. But I've been really lucky to give that talk probably upward of like 30 or 40 times now. It's been a lot. I've been able to give it online, so to speak to people across the globe about this topic. Me and Vixen are also very vocal online. We like to write what we think and sort of post it on the internet for people to see. And I think for both of us, the thought process behind that is that we really want to provoke some critical thinking and some critical reflection and just some conversations that maybe wouldn't otherwise exist within the pole fitness space. Because whilst the pole fitness space is doing a lot better and it is, for the most part, a really good place to be a part of, there's still a lot of work to be done. And so I love to create this conversation, and I feel really, really grateful and really, really privileged to be able to bring it into pole studios across Aotearoa. What else? I've done quite a few interviews as well. I've been interviewed for national media a few times, talking about specifically the ethics of pole pole in relation to stripping. We basically just get quite grumpy online quite often, don't we, Vixen?
Yes, and it comes from a place of like pure, we're both very sensitive beings. We have so much love and respect for the communities that we belong to. And, you know, I'm very big on, as I mentioned earlier with Vixen Temple and the Monstrous Feminine, I'm quite big on honoring your rage, especially for wahine. That gets demonized and pathologized a lot. And I'm quite big on, I think that anger can be used as a tool if you know especially how to sit with it, to alchemize, to make like actual progressive change. What was the other hat that we wear that I forgot?
Well, I guess we should probably just talk about how we are sex workers.
That's
probably quite central to the entire conversation. I personally have dabbled in most forms of it. Predominantly, I have been a stripper followed by a sugar baby and some online work. But yeah, I've had my toes dipped into most areas of it. But yeah, I did a solid, I think it's been about 5 years since I became a stripper, and prior to that I was sugar babying for maybe 2 years before that. So yeah, like 7 years. Like I said, I've been super, super privileged with my career in the pole fit world. So I'm able to sort of drop in and drop out when I need to now. It's not something that I do full time like I used to, but I was full time for about 4 years in the clubs. I have many a sugar baby story, which we will get into, and a strip club story, let's be so real, which we can get into in another episode. But yes, I've been in the world for a fair bit of time. How about you, Vixen?
Yeah, we are definitely going to be talking some shit in the future about our experience. So I'm the same. I've been in the industry for 7 years too. I started by just doing online S work. I started back before Foster Sister and pre OnlyFans Day. I used to have this pay to access Snapchat where I would dress up. I used to love cosplaying, so I would dress up and do these like strip shows as like Harley Quinn or like some characters from my favorite media because I'm such a nerd. And then from there, I started working as a stripper. And while I was a stripper, I also dabbled in sugar babying, which we'll talk about in the future. In my opinion, is one of the hardest forms of S work. Then through my advocacy, I have been blacklisted from a lot of clubs in this country because of just inherently being Vixen Temple and having gone to the media about like the fines and exploitation in the club and being so vocal. So I've been blacklisted from a bunch of clubs. So because of that, I started doing full service when I moved to Poneke 3 years ago. So I've been doing full service for 3 years. Because I am disabled, I am currently living off the disability benefit, and I just do full service when my body and mind allows it. And at the moment, I'm mostly just doing some online S work. But my long-term goal, I really want to become a dominatrix. I turn 30 next year, and I want to become Mistress Temple. So I am sort of working towards that. But yeah, I feel very like the main reason I became a S worker, and we'll definitely talk about this in a future episode, is because of my disabilities and how it impacts my ability to hold down a 9-to-5 job. So S work is the most accessible career for me to pursue, and it's how I have survived the last 7 years of my life. And it has taught me so much about myself and the world. And that is why we want to make this podcast. I just think that S workers have such a profound insight into so many wider issues. And we are just so excited to share our voice and our korero around, things that we are fascinated by through the lens of people to wahine that have been in the S work industry for 7 years. And we also both identify as queer, we're takatapui, we're both disabled in our own rights. Anyways, let's talk about how we met, what we want to do with this show, because we were going to try to keep this at 30 minutes, but we're both ADHD, we yap a lot.
Our meeting story, how did we meet? It's like we're dating. So, yeah, I'll try to keep this not too long, but I remember when I first started activating online and feeling desperately isolated and alone in the entire advocacy thing, and so like desperately trawling the internet trying to find someone who was talking about it and just trying to learn about it and read from someone else the things that I was having a hard time articulating. And of course I found Vixen, and I sort of fell in love and was obsessed, and Vixen was deplatformed probably like a few years after I found her, so she fell off the face of the earth for me. And luckily for us, Vixen was able to come back on social media, of course, and so I kind of found her again. And as my career progressed and I started to perform professionally in Tamaki Makaurau, we were actually hired for the same show, which was a Nocturne Sanctum event called Concept Stage Spot, which is essentially a variety show for sex workers and sex workers only to come and showcase anything that they want, really. It's super variety of really great and awesome things. I remember the first thing I ever saw Vixen do was what's his name? I can't remember his name. Bruce. Yes, Bruce. If you haven't seen Bruce, you need to put that on your bucket list. It's essentially like an act where Vixen does like man cosplay and pretends to be like the classic annoying strip club customer. And there's like a full backtrack and she's like lip syncing, and it's just, oh my God, it's fucking incredible. I remember just being like, holy shit, I'm in love with this person. But we properly met for the first time at that event.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Bruce. I should have mentioned Bruce at the start. He kind of went viral a few years ago.
Yeah.
Bruce, the strip club customer, is like it's a male drag persona I have of like just the archetype of the strip club customer. I have a song, If I Were a Rich Bloke. It's like if I were a rich man from Fiddler on the Roof, but I rewrote it for Bruce, just talking about being in the strip club and not wanting to spend money, and if only I were a rich bloke, titties in my face. And so yeah, we met at Concept Stage Spot, and I remember as well as being Bruce, I also I think I did this like clown look because I did this like poem performance art. I was dressed as this like crazy clown, and you and I got this picture backstage together where you're dressed in this like gorgeous bedazzled like rhinestone flame bikini, and I'm dressed as a clown, and You look like a Victoria's Secret model. I look like a crazy clown. And depending on the lens that you look at it through, we both look like a fan meeting our idol. Like whether it's you meeting the idol Vixen Temple or Vixen Temple meeting the idol Madeline. But like,
Yeah,
we'll post
absolutely.
the picture to the Instagram because I just look demonic and she looks like an angel. And that kind of like really summarizes our vibe of like, I'm the like gothic alternative demon and she's this just gorgeous angelic creature, and we're both succubuses in our own right. But that's how we met. We connected through there. Madeline let me know that she cites a few of my articles for her workshops, and so I thought that's so cool. And when Nocturnus had announced the cast, I followed her Instagram and was just like, oh my fuck, like this is the best dancer I have ever seen.
Stop it!
I mean,
oh my God.
you are liquid when you dance. It is enticing. It is intoxicating. It is hypnotic. You've definitely got witches in your tapuna too, and they definitely seduced men through dancing and then slaughtered them and ate them.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So yeah, that's how we met. And then, you know, we followed each other on Instagram and we just started bonding over our shared experiences of exploitation at the hands of management, and then our shared experiences of, we have very similar values around pole fit, and you know how we both have existed in the pole fit industry and we love it. We don't want it to go away. We just, because of the love we have for strippers and because of the love we have for pole fit, we want to have these difficult corridors so that we can make sure. I think something that Madeline and I always say to each other is that if there's a spark of a flame, you've got to put it out before it engulfs into a fire. If you see something early on, call it out before it snowballs into something worse. And that's something me and Madeline want to do with this podcast, is we have yaps at each other in our DMs, just word vomiting. And we'll say to each other constantly like, fuck, we should have a podcast, because it's one thing for us to be saying this to each other, but we already know this. We need to get people that don't know these things listening. So that's why we're here. That's what we wanted to create, Stripped and Unscripted, stripping topics back to the core. Each episode will have a specific topic that we're talking about. We're stripping it down to its roots and just really getting into the nitty gritty. And it's unscripted because we just are speaking from our wider. We might have like notes when it comes to like quotes or facts or dates that we need to know. But other than that, we do our research. We love to link each other like books and essays and articles to read. But we're speaking purely from lived experience, our own research and expertise, and just having a co-host to feed off, I think, is really cool. I love listening to podcasts with like 2 or more hosts, just having a corridor. So we hope that when you tune in and listen, you know, it's like you're just talking to your BFFs, you're just talking to your friends at a slumber party, talking shit about topics that are political and feminist and pole and sex work, and we're really excited to court it all with you. So I'll pass back to Madeline to talk about a little Q&A section that we want to have for our show. So take it away, Madeline.
Okay, so we essentially at the end of each episode would love to have some discourse with you guys. So we have an Instagram. It is stripped_unscripted, which we will also link below, where if you have any questions, if you have any feedback, if you have anything really that you want to know, send it to us. If you want to send it to us anonymously, you can go to do that if you want. But basically, we just want to bring a couple of those questions onto the podcast at the end, just to, answer them and dig into them a little bit more. I think, to echo what Vixen just said, another part of the kaupapa for us is that we are totally aware that a lot of this information isn't super accessible, and it can quite often, especially for people in the pole world, can be the first time you're hearing some of these concepts, especially the ones that run a little bit more political. And so we want to provide a place for you guys to ask questions and hear our perspectives on these things, and for it to just spark some reflection and like thought around these things. I think it can be really easy to miss a lot of the topics that we will talk about. Our first episode is big on that, but our second episode technically, but essentially, we just want to give you guys a place to come and listen to stuff and to give you a slightly different perspective and some new information, so that when you do see things happening in the industry and the community, you sort of know what it is, and you can see it and understand. And yeah, so any questions, fire them at us. We're not going to do a million questions each time because that would become like an entire episode. Although, in saying that, could be quite cool for us to once in a while do like a full Q&A. But yeah, just a couple, maybe 2 or 3 at the end. Yeah, where we answer your questions essentially.
Wicked. And yeah, if you have any suggestions on topics you'd like us to cover, flick us a message or an email. We'll put all our contact details in the show notes. And yes, Madeline touched on, we've already recorded our first official episode about, should I say what the topic is to get people excited?
Yeah, go on. Drop the bomb.
Cute. So our first official topic is respectability, politics, and tone policing anger. So that will be coming out shortly. But we had to re-record the first episode officially introducing ourselves because Mercury is currently retrograde, which means that there's technological errors. And so we were just having issues with like the sound and the quality, and it just came out really shit. And we promise it will improve over time. But I just want to note that because in the first official episode about respectability, politics, and tone policing anger, there's little bits where we say, oh, we touched on this in the first episode, and now that won't make sense because we potentially haven't. So if that pops up and you're like, what are you talking about? That's because we had to re-record this episode. But that, I think, about covers it. But thank you so much for tuning in. We're really excited to have these kōrero with you all, and we just like we said, we just really want to have a space and a platform to have these difficult topics. So no question is ever too stupid. We are here to talk and educate and yeah, just have a kōrero. So we're really excited that you've joined us. So I'll pass back to Madeline to sign us off, and then we will see you in our first official episode. We will probably publish next week.
I really can't add much to what Vixen said. We just want to essentially give you guys an insight into the conversations that we have super regularly, because I know sometimes when we both get a little bit mouthy online, it can be a little bit not necessarily inaccessible, but it can be a bit confusing, and there's definitely an element of not maybe being super aware of our tone when we speak online. And so bringing this into a vocal sort of form is hopefully just going to really make this more accessible to everyone, and yeah, just really, really open up this dialogue for all of us in a way that is like super productive and super open. And yeah, so we're both just so excited, feeling so blessed, and we are so grateful, and we are so excited to have members from both communities come and listen to us and kōrero with us, and yeah, cannot wait for the next one, team. So yeah, we will sign off. Thank you for listening with us, and we will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.